Today on Marvel Movie News, Captain Marvel's first reactions are coming in all across the web. What do people think about it? We're going to talk about it today on the show. Netflix officially pulls the plug on Jessica Jones and The Punisher, and Eminem is not happy about it. That's true. I'm not making that up. I got to mute my computer. And we're going to do that and more today on Marvel Movie News.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Marvel Movie News.
Good afternoon to you, our merry Marvelites. Welcome back. We are coming to you live from Hell's Kitchen. Let's just say from Hell's Kitchen because it's sad.
It is sad.
I mean, we all knew it was coming, and we'll talk about the Netflix stuff in a bit. But welcome to the Popcorn Talk Show, Marvel Movie News. Follow us on Twitter at Marvel News PTN or the Popcorn Talk. I'm Zach Wilson. This is Zia Anderson.
Hi, guys.
We've got Marissa in the booth today. And we got Colt M.O.D.O.K taking care of us on social media from up on the Star Jammer. Christian is out this week, unfortunately.
I know. How dare he?
How dare he have work things to do?
I know.
Important people need him. We're important too, Christian. God.
I probably would just tell my work, yeah, sorry, I can't make it.
So many things to talk about today. Here's some teases. We're going to talk about stuff with Captain Marvel. Black Widow updates on her solo feature. There are writers being added to things like Loki. There's Spider-Ham news. I love when there's Spider-Ham news just because I get to say Spider-Ham and Peter Porker a bunch of times. As we said, Netflix cancellations. And Kevin Smith has some stuff to talk about the Hulu shows. And there was a Cloak and Dagger trailer that dropped, and it dropped literally 3 minutes after we went off the air last week. I don't know who at Marvel is screwing with us, because this is like the second time in a month that big news has dropped. Literally, not like even like a couple hours later or that night, minutes. It's like they waited.
They did. No, they watched the show and they're like, okay, they're done. Hit send.
Which I can't tell if that's better or worse. Is it better if it because it came out during the show, we'd have to be like, oh, it happened. We can't watch it because we're literally on the air. But
we know it's there.
But we know it's Marvel. All right, let's get into the news. Starting with Captain Marvel's first reactions. They've started press screenings. This is something I always like about Marvel, is that they are so confident in their products that they have literally started people seeing it 3 weeks before the movie is set to hit theaters. And people generally seem to be really liking it. Most of the comments I've seen are saying that it's funny, it's empowering, is what a lot of women have been saying about it. It's full of 90s nostalgia.
That's what I'm looking forward to. I love me some 90s nostalgia.
For the record, from here on out, now that people have seen the movie, no more discussion of spoilers or events that are going on in the movie, so you don't have to worry about that. Like there are people now posting like, oh, now we know who Jude Law is playing. Well, yeah, because people saw the movie. Of course you know. So we're just ignoring all that because we want to go into it spoiler free. We know you want to go into it mostly spoiler free, at least as free as you can with Lego in the field. But generally the reactions seem to have been good. There was like one critic who said it was a bit stuck in the Marvel formula.
Well, if it's working, why would you? If it's not broke, don't fix it.
And like the Marvel does somewhat for these origin movies. I know what they're talking about. There is a Marvel formula, and that's like origin stories are tough. You do have to introduce a lot. It's hard to get a character that people aren't familiar with into just like you can't just hit the ground running like you can with Spider-Man Far From Home or Spider-Man Homecoming rather. Didn't need to do oh, he's Peter Parker. Who's Peter Parker? How
We've
does he
seen
get
it
bit? Like,
many
we know the story, and
times.
you could just drop in, and he's already Spider-Man, and he's like doing, and you just did a story about that. Captain Marvel, unfortunately, doesn't have that level of general audience awareness, so they have to do an origin story. But I think that from what it sounds like, they are doing a good job at keeping it fun. The comment that I really liked was that they said the dynamic between Brie Larson and Samuel L. Jackson is like a buddy cop movie.
Ooh, I like that. That's going to be fun.
So that's a little bit of what we've been hearing. I'm curious, guys in the chat, like, do these like comments, do they get you more hyped for the movie, less hyped? I don't know how they could get you less hyped. But,
right?
or because these actually are getting me more excited for the movie. Because I've said it on the show before. The trailers, I think, have not done the best job of getting my anticipation up. Like the Endgame teasers, because you can't even call them trailers. The teasers have only raised my excitement level for that movie, partially because they've literally been they're just like
30-second blurbs.
They are teasing me. They're like, ha ha ha, don't you want to know more?
You have no idea what's going on.
But Captain Marvel, like I just felt like the trailers weren't cut well.
Okay.
But they looked like there was like a good movie that just like the trailers weren't landing. But but that's all we have to go on. So it's like, all right, I'm still excited for the movie, but I want to know what. But the reactions have been strong enough that I'm excited. Zia, what do you think?
I'm super excited. The trailers got me excited, though, just to see some of what we're going to get in the movie. I mean, honestly, when she's fighting in space. That's so cool.
I don't mean to say that there aren't amazing imagery. I guess I'm talking about purely from a story perspective. I was still waiting to get that, like, oh, I want to know how this story goes.
Which I totally understand where you're coming from. Yeah, with that, and that's definitely a little bit different. For me, I'm kind of going into it a little bit more blind, so I'm like, oh, okay, whatever story they give me, I'm excited to see. So I don't necessarily mind that so much. The 90s. I'm so excited about the 90s. In the chat we have that they put out Xeno Hour. A little disappointing they put out a 90s soundtrack. I think that's so cool. I'm
disappointed that they did put out a 90s soundtrack.
That's what it says. I don't know if that's a typo, but I think that's going to be really cool. I'm going to buy that soundtrack.
Of course they'll put out the soundtrack, like if they use enough, because I've heard, like, I haven't really heard the specific tracks that they're using, but from like, it is a bunch of 90s songs. Yeah. They hit All Star in there.
Yes. Yes, you have to.
Just so we can troll. I have so many friends who hate that song, and I just want to troll them.
Just start playing it all the time.
All right. Hey now. Let's keep it on track. But yeah, I'm excited to see Captain Marvel. It's so soon. It's literally like it comes out in 2 weeks.
I have my tickets. You have your tickets?
I have a screening in less than 2 weeks.
I actually knew that. I'm very jealous of you both.
So to give you guys a little heads up on what we're gonna do for the show, because on the 7th, when we do a show in 2 weeks, I think Christian and I will have seen the movie by then. We're gonna do a spoiler-free reaction, so you don't have to worry about us spoiling anything. We're good about that.
I don't mind spoilers.
I know you don't, but
for everybody
the
else.
audience doesn't need all those spoilers. So I'm gonna let them. We're gonna do a spoiler for it, and then on the 14th when we come back, we're gonna talk about it, and we're gonna talk about it.
Also, just a clarification, Xeno Hour did say it was a typo. They didn't come out with a.
Oh, okay.
Why, guys? Come on, come on. I'm sure
they will. I think I'd rather they wait to announce it to put it out there, because you will like. I want to discover what songs are in there as we watch it. But the other thing is, just remember that Disney and Marvel have been really good about when you really want something, they find a way to put it out for you. The Daredevil score is a great example. People wanted the Daredevil score after getting out because it was a great score.
It was fantastic.
I even talked to the composer on AfterBuzz TV John Pelifero, I believe. I might have pronounced that name wrong, but we talked to him on AfterBuzz TV a while back, and it's a fantastic score. And they put it out not only online but on vinyl as well.
Oh, that's awesome!
Which I have proudly displayed in my apartment.
Very nice.
So if you want it, if it comes out and they're like, they haven't announced it yet because like somehow we're still trapped in the licensing nightmare that was like, where's Natasha?
Oh no.
Which I like, how do you like, obviously there are plenty of Carol Danvers toys and t-shirts all over the place as this movie comes out.
Yeah.
But I hope that they know that that people are going to want that.
Yeah.
I mean, they just released a two vinyl like release of the SpiderVerse score. I'm sure that you will get your SpiderVerse soundtrack or your Captain Marvel soundtrack. Anyway, moving on. So we're excited. That's the Captain Marvel news.
Yes.
Black Widow, as we mentioned, Black Widow has hired a new writer to rewrite the script. I wouldn't. To be clear, I don't think that you should take this as anything to be worried about.
No.
Hollywood scripts are rewritten tons of times. Usually we just don't know about it.
And I heard that also that the previous writer is working on something else.
So, Black Widow has hired Ned Benson, who wrote The Mysterious Case of Eleanor Rigby, which was a Kathryn Bigelow film, and to come in and rewrite the script for what this is all according to Collider. Disney and Marvel have not confirmed this.
Okay.
And what Collider saying is it's a set before the Avengers, so it's maybe, I don't know if it's between Iron Man 2 and Avengers or even pre-Iron Man 2, but this is an early Black Widow script as opposed to a post-Endgame Black Widow. And so Jack Schaefer, who she's the writer, she was the original writer on Black Widow, is currently the showrunner for Vision and the Scarlet Witch.
Right.
So I get the sense that if this is true, she was busy working on a different Marvel project.
Yeah.
But they probably need to do a bunch of heavy rewrites on the script, not
Which
because
is
it was
normal.
necessarily bad, but just because that's production. Something changes and they want to put in more stunts, less stunts. They thought of a new plot point that they're really excited about. So they brought in this guy Ned Benson, and that's all. That's it.
Yeah, I agree.
Have you seen Mysterious Case of Eleanor Rigby?
I have not. Have you?
No.
I want to now. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I'm curious if anybody in the chat has his thoughts on that. I just think it's a movie that, as much as we try to watch all the stuff so we can talk to you guys about it, can't watch every movie every week.
There's so many things to watch. My list keeps getting longer and longer. I like in the chat, Philly Prince says, "Gotta make it right." I agree. Like if you want to make the right product is what I was gonna say. Yeah, you might have to do rewrites, reshoots, all of it, but eventually the puzzle's gonna fit together and it's gonna be amazing. And I have very high hopes for this movie.
Yes, I am. What did I say?
I've actually seen two of them because it's a weird release of what they did.
It's like him.
They broke
her.
the movie in three parts. There's his version point of view. There's her version point of view, and then there's the middle movie that has both sides that ties everything up.
Yeah,
it's in
my
three
notes
parts. It's weird.
My notes are also just wrong. I don't know how I wrote The Mysterious Case when it's the disappearance of Eleanor Rigby. But yeah, so they're bringing in a creative writer. And I also said Kathryn Bigelow when I meant Jessica Chastain. So I'm just way off today, guys. Forgive me.
It's okay. You have the facts now.
Yes.
They're in front of you.
I was able to correct myself. But I think this could be good things to get somebody interesting and creative for Black Widow. I mean, we don't know what the movie's going to look like. We don't know what kind of style they're going for. I kind of hope they go really stylized. This could be a fun 80s action spy movie.
Yeah, totally. And I think even in the chat here, this is the thought that I was having. And I'm sorry if I say your last name wrong. Grog Vaughn or Vaughan? I'm not sure. Isn't Black Widow supposed to be an origin story? That's definitely a possibility, but not necessarily.
If it's a prequel, then yeah, probably it would be an origin story. I hope it's not just I hope maybe it has origin pieces, but I don't really need an origin story as much as I could just use early Black Widow.
Yeah. I think it'd be cool to see maybe some of the origin and flashbacks.
You know what I'd love to see it be is that not going back to like origin where she got trained to be a spy, but we meet her when she is working for Russia and for Hydra, however she knows who she's working for. Because it could be she's KGB, but like deep cover Hydra, whatever it is.
Right.
And then, so we meet her. She's already trained up, but she's just bad. She's working for the bad guys. So we see where the red in her ledger comes from. But we see it. We experience her like turning around and coming over to S.H.I.E.L.D.
That would be really cool.
So because that I think is the most dramatic part of her story.
Absolutely.
I don't need she was like she was trained and hurt and horrifyingly abused. Like we can get pieces of that,
right?
But I don't want to watch that for 2 hours. I want to watch the bad guy turn into a good guy.
Right. I like that idea too. And Gamer Girl also says, "I want that Black Widow movie to show us what happened at Budapest." Yes.
Yes. If this, I would also be severely disappointed if this doesn't have Jeremy Renner in it, at least for a little bit.
He needs to make an appearance.
But we got to get the Budapest. It's a good call. But yeah, and also I think that could be a good bridge of like because Natasha in the comics always read to me, and this is partially just writers, more serious of a character.
Absolutely.
And she's very sarcastic in the MCU, and some of that's just Scarlett Johansson, some of that's the writers and the directors that she's been brought to life by. But I would love to see her be super serious and like almost like the more comic book version, and then we see her become good and like whoever it is, like if it's Hawkeye, like you gotta lighten up and joke sometimes.
Teaching her sarcasm.
Yeah.
He's talking to her sarcastically and she thinks he's serious.
Or like, or she, I don't know who like, I don't know if Maria Hill would be there that early, which would be a funny like transference of like Maria Hill's super snarky. Anyway.
There's a lot they could do.
Yeah. So moving forward, we'll wait on more Black Widow news as it comes forward. Gwyneth Paltrow has some minor spoilers, potentially. She managed to cover her tracks a little bit, but she might have spoiled some Endgame stuff. Where she said, this is the quote in an interview, I'm a bit old to be in a suit and all that at this point. And she said she's not going to be doing any
It's her last
more
one.
Marvel movies.
Yeah.
She says she's retiring. Although then she says, like, if they said, can you come back for a day? I will always be there if they need me.
I don't know what that means.
So basically, but the big part of that to take in is I'm a bit old to be in a suit at this point. So more evidence to Pepper Potts getting into her rescue armor in Endgame.
To go find Tony.
To either go find Tony or just to like be helping out with the Avengers on
Maybe she puts
Earth.
it on to go find Tony and then ends up helping out because she realizes she can do it.
Or maybe she's the person in that mysterious blank space.
Maybe it is her. You guys, I can't wait to watch this.
Which I talked to some people who were like, nah, there's probably nothing there. And I'm like, but I want that, but conspiracy.
I mean, yeah. That's the whole point of why we talk about this.
So she said she's out after Endgame. We'll see. But also it's like, if we're not doing more Iron Man movies, like Pepper Potts doesn't necessarily need to be there unless she's going to pop up with Happy in, like, we know that we saw her name signed to a check in the Far From Home trailer.
Right. Maybe just small appearances.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's what she's
cameos.
saying, when like she'd be willing to come back for a cameo.
Right. Which would be fun. I think that would be.
Or maybe she just slipped a few too many times because she has done a bunch of random little spoilers throughout this process.
Marvel keeps writing her letters.
And Marvel's like, you got to stop talking to people.
Not allowed to tweet anymore.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, she's posted Instagram photos of her in what looked like a rescue costume.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Spider-Ham is getting a short.
Yay!
I'm so excited. So when SpiderVerse hits home I don't even know what to call it now. Home video release. It hits DVD, Blu-ray, and
viewing.
digital.
Home viewing release.
Yeah, I still want to call it home video.
I know. I remember those.
Do you guys know what videotape is out there?
I watched Star Wars on VHS.
I watched Return of the Jedi for the first time on a Betamax.
Wow.
Yeah. So there is a clip online which you can go search for. I don't want to have to talk over it, so we're not going to watch it here. But
it's
it
so fun,
is
though.
wonderful. It's a little like it's genuine. It's a 2D cartoon.
Yeah.
And we had talked about like whether Spider-Ham could be, because Sony had teased like we want to do Spider-Man spin-offs.
Yeah.
Because you could do 1 million of them now. Like you don't even have to use the characters that are in Spider-Verse. You could just make up new Spider characters and do those.
You totally could.
But they have, so it's got John Mulaney returning to voice him. It's gonna be wonderful.
I'm so excited. Even just that little trailer, he's like, "This is an all beef hot dog, I promise." Wink. I was like, "This is gonna be great."
Mulaney's talking about. He says to go see him back at the Daily Beagle. I could see a Watergate-like story at the Beagle where he's both a reporter and Spider-Ham by night.
Yes.
Yes.
That's all I want to say.
Like all this, like just make more of these, please. Give me more Peter Parker. Peter Parker all day.
Peter Parker. I just want to say.
But yeah, go check it out online. Spider-Verse will come to home media digital on February 26th. That's this week. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's this week.
Is this when you watch it for the 5th and 6th time?
Maybe. But I want to buy the physical copy because I like having it on my shelf. But that doesn't come out until March 19th. Maniacs.
Wow, they really released the digital version a lot sooner than the
this is a pretty extreme
DVD.
And they're doing it just to get me and people like me, because I don't usually buy things digitally. I buy very few movies digitally because I am still of the generation that doesn't feel totally comfortable spending money on things that I cannot hold in my hand.
No, I 100% understand. I still buy. I refuse to have a Kindle. I don't have one. I like physical books. I have a whole bookshelf with tons of books on it. Stop trying to get me to use a Kindle, dang it. So I understand. Like, I want to have it in my hands.
I do want to watch Spider-Verse and the Spider-Ham fall short this weekend.
I mean, look, you can buy...
Or I guess it would be next week.
You can buy it first, digital, and then buy the physical copy.
And then I bought it twice. And that's how they get you.
That's how they get you.
Anyway. So, moving forward in the news. This was fun. It's sort of movie news. It's sort of not. It's not TV news either, but they finally announced some details about the Wolverine podcast getting a second season. Did you listen to the first one? I
haven't listened to the first one, but I have to now.
Yeah, Wolverine: The Long Night is a fantastic, like it's a scripted narrative podcast with a full voice cast. It's so the second season is going to be called The Lost Trail. And it's going to debut on Stitcher Premium exclusively, and then it'll come to other podcast platforms like iTunes and stuff.
Later in the year.
Okay,
cool.
No date set for that. The first season, if you guys haven't listened to it, is available on iTunes or anywhere. If you're listening to this, whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on, just you search for Wolverine, and it'll come up.
And this is similar to what they did with Torchwood. If you're familiar with that. I know they did something like that with Torchwood that I also want to listen to.
Torchwood and Doctor Who have a ton of audio dramas. So it is similar. A lot of those are just like read. They're not, and some of them are full voice cast. Some of them are like audiobooks.
Got it.
This is a full voice cast. So you have like you just have different actors playing different characters. What it says is, this is the description for season 2, that it'll follow Wolverine as he goes to New Orleans when he finds that his ex is missing, and a bunch of other people, including some mutants, are also missing. He's going to encounter like all kinds of gangs, thieves, and Jason Wingard, also known as Mastermind. I can't recommend the first season enough as like a podcast. It's super fun to listen to. Like, it's Marvel. It's just like, it's a good story that involves, if you like the more like gritty kind of Wolverine, it's got like a cult atmosphere. Like there's literally a cult involved.
That's amazing.
It's fun. I watched it just to paint a picture for you. I listened to it while I was on a road trip through like Wyoming. The podcast is all set in Alaska. And
so it's in the wilderness.
Like, it's in the wilderness. It's set in the woods. There's murders. But it's all about in the snow area. And I'm driving through Wyoming where there are no lights on the highways. It's snowing. You can't see much on the road because there's snow. I'm like glued to my steering wheel, just keeping the car on the highway while listening to Wolverine trek through the snow and like get attacked by people. It was intense. It made it so much scarier.
Did you think while you were driving, okay, I'm not stopping or pulling over for anything?
I mean, you couldn't stop and pull over. It was a snow like drenched highway.
Oh my gosh.
It was also like I probably should have pulled over, but it was like there's like 50-mile stretches where it's like there's no exits. You just go. Don't run out of gas.
Oh my God, that sounds scary.
Yeah. So yeah, check that out if you have a chance. Felicity Jones has said in an interview that she would be down to play Felicia Hardy again, also sort of for the first time.
Again.
If they wanted her to. Felicia Hardy, and I had forgotten that this was a thing, Felicity Jones played Felicia Hardy by name at least in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which, if you remember, is the movie that Sony was like, yeah, we're going to throw in all these villains and then just spin them all off. So they were just throwing everybody in there. They're like, look, there's that armor and there's goblin stuff over there. And then there's Ock's over there. And they're like, see, Felicia Hardy's working in the lab, but we're not even going to tell you she's Black Cat yet. Felicity Jones obviously never got to play.
Clearly
no. I would actually love to see it. The only issue is, I want her to be in the Marvel. I would want Felicia in the Marvel universe proper.
Yes, I agree.
And Felicity Jones might be a little too old to start dating Tom Holland's Spider-Man.
A little bit.
And I think that their romance as Spider-Man tries to like make her a good guy is a fascinating story. But I do love Black Cat as a gangster, how she was recently in the comics. Mm-hmm. So, and I think Felicity Jones could do a great job with that character.
But not necessarily.
I just don't want her to have to go off in a Venom-style Spider-Man-less universe.
I agree. No, I agree. I would like to see her as
Shrug.
As with Tom Holland, and you can kind of see their dynamic, because I know that they dated sort of off and on, and she was bad and then became good and then worked with him, and I would like to see that story. Yeah, I would like to see a little bit more of that. Yeah.
Some more like vaguely movie news. I just thought we would share this with you guys. It's cool. Cool. We've got a photo for this one. Marvel is showing off. Marvel debuted some stamps in England, and we can't get I don't know how to get them in the US, but they're cool stamps.
If we go to England, can we buy them there?
Yeah. I assume you can. I assume you just have to get your currency converted into pounds.
Right.
But yeah, so cool. if we bring them up, they've got Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hulk, Doctor Strange. Of course, you've got Captain Britain and Union Jack.
Because you have to.
Yeah, and the Captain Britain one looks awesome, but like these are beautiful stamps.
The artwork is amazing.
The thing is, I would never want these would go with. And they got Peggy Carter in there. My heart. These are the kind of stamps that you buy and never use.
Yeah.
Or you only, or these would be like the Harry Potter stamps that I got like a decade ago that I only use on important things.
What kind of important things? Like when you send
I don't
Zia
know.
a letter?
How often do I send mail these days?
I don't know, but I'm requesting a letter with a Harry Potter stamp on it now, Zach. Thank you.
All right. I'll find I'll buy an envelope because I don't keep envelopes anymore.
I actually do.
For what?
I'll lend you an envelope. I don't know.
Like
just
putting
'cause.
receipts in?
Yeah, I actually pretty much. We keep them for like random things that you need to put in there. They're kind of nifty to have.
Manila envelope. We could make jokes about like the mail system and antiquated technology all day. We've already done that for about 5 minutes of this show. Send us in your questions, guys, because we're going to take some time at the end of the show to answer any questions that you guys have, or just like you want to chat about some stuff. But before that, it's Marvel TV time.
Ooh.
Marvel movie news. We're talking TV time.
I practiced.
Thank you. Let's start off with the big news this week. Jessica Jones and the Punisher have officially been canceled. Before
Jessica Jones even came out.
Yeah.
Which I find a little
Season 3
odd.
is obviously still coming.
Right. We're going to get it. But I knew this was coming. I already knew it.
Yeah.
The fact that people kept trying to start petitions, and I know it's way more complicated than Netflix just wanting to cancel the shows because they weren't being watched. There's Disney Plus is coming. They're not going to have a relationship with Netflix and Marvel anymore. So I already knew. I was prepared for it. When it happened, I was like, all right. But the fact that we might possibly get it again on Hulu a couple years down the road.
Yes. So there is news on that. We'll talk about what Jeff Loebs said in a minute. I just wanted to, because so this is Netflix like cutting ties with the Marvel like Netflix universe entirely. I believe Jessica Jones comes out. Have they said yet? March, I think.
I think it was either March or April.
Yeah, it's relatively soon.
It's very soon.
But the funniest thing to come out of this is Eminem, Marshall Mathers.
Oh, this was amazing.
Posted on Twitter after they announced this, and he says in all caps, "Dear Netflix, regarding your cancellation of The Punisher, you are blowing it!" 2 exclamation points. Sincerely, Marshall.
It's like, I swear I haven't heard Eminem in the news for so long, and this is what he gets in the news for. It makes me so happy.
It's beautiful. And that's, yeah, I mean, look, a lot of people are upset, like not everyone has been following this as closely as us. They were just like, oh, they made a Punisher TV show. Great, I'm going to watch it. What? They canceled it?
Right.
Not everybody is piled in with the, well, okay, so what's the news this week on the Netflix versus Hulu rumors, and Disney Plus is coming out. Like, a lot of people don't even know Disney Plus is a thing yet, guys.
That's true.
We have to remember, sometimes we have to remind ourselves that it happens when I go on dates. Where I'll be like, oh yeah, and the Disney Plus streaming service, and they're like, what's that? And I go, okay.
Yep.
I can either explain this or just be like, all right, we can move on now. Anyway. So yeah, the shows are officially canceled. Punisher put up, Marissa, if you want to put up the quote there, as they've done as each show finishes, Punisher posted, "It's been an honor." This is the first one that didn't tease at coming back, though. I will say that. All of the other ones, like when Daredevil did it, when Luke Cage did it, when Iron Fist did it, they were all like, Iron Fist is immortal. And
right. And they're like, yeah, you might see him again. And everyone's like, oh, okay. And then now, well, they have to know that the people that do follow the news at this point know it's done. We've heard about.
That's the thing, is that like
everything else.
It's not shocking. And I think ultimately when people are asking, what about like why didn't they wait for Jessica Jones to finish before canceling it? The media all knows.
That's true.
And it's fair to the writers, the crew, the cast, to tell them as soon as possible that they are canceled officially, because these people are working, and now they know that their job is not coming back.
Right.
So now they can, in earnest, go look for a new job, or take other offers that might be coming in. It's a big deal to know for sure that you have been released from a contract.
No, you're right. That's absolutely huge, because otherwise you're just sitting there in limbo waiting. and then you miss out on opportunities that you could have. So you're right. It is really cool of them to do that. We did have quickly in the chat, I think it was Senior Nerd said, what is the Twitter handle to send questions to? Just quickly, it is at Marvel News PTN.
Yes. Yeah. We will be keeping an eye on the chat. It is a little harder for us to keep track of them constantly, but we will.
Yes.
So we're going to keep, Jeff Loeb posted a letter to, where did I put his letter? Oh no. Zia, a vamp.
So anyway, I'm really excited about.
I have a lot of stuff open. Okay, I found it. Jeff Loeb put out a note after the news broke. Jeff Loeb, the head of Marvel Television, and the big thing that he says a lot of stuff, and you can go read it. It's available online. But the thing that everyone wants to talk about is what he says at the very end. He says, as Matthew Murdock's dad once said, the measure of a man is not how he gets knocked to the mat, it's how he gets back up. To be continued. Signed, Jeff Loeb and all of us at Marvel Television. So, obviously, this is just like, it's comic book style to end with a to be continued. Whether this means the show is coming back or not is still anybody's guess, but it is nice to see that at least the head of the television unit he wants to bring them back. He's like, as he says, like, our partner Netflix, they made the decision not to move forward. It was technically always Netflix's call because of the way the contracts were structured, but they still want to move forward with these characters in some form. I think everybody knows the success that was Daredevil, the success that was Jessica Jones, to take a character that was largely unknown and bring her steaming into the spotlight in a great show. Like, some of us, like, obviously, like, we knew who Jessica Jones was, right? But like, a lot of people didn't, and now they know who this character is, and they've gone and read Alias, and they've restarted her series, and it keeps going. So that I'm excited to see what they do going forward with the characters.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I've said this before. I'd really, even if they don't necessarily do individual shows for all of them, I would like to see maybe more of the Defenders, because we only got one season of that.
Yeah, there's so many complicated things, especially because of where Luke Cage and Iron Fist ended.
I know.
Because they ended on such cliffhangers with the characters in weird spots. But one step at a time.
We'll just wait the 2 years. There's going to be plenty of content coming out before it's possible.
Yeah. So, always forward. Loki news. Loki has added a showrunner who hails from the television show, among other things. But most notably, Rick and Morty.
I feel like that's going to be so interesting. Such an interesting tone. But I mean, for humor-wise, Loki's a trickster. Yeah. I think that it's going to work really well. I'm excited to see how he kind of works that into it.
Yeah, so Michael Waldron, who is a writer on Rick and Morty, he's worked with Dan Harmon on Harmon Quest, Good Game, has been hired to write the pilot, and he will serve as the show's executive producer for the series.
Yeah.
This, to me, reads more and more like we're gonna get young Loki. Not like Tom Hiddleston is already confirmed to be in it, but I think he's gonna appear in it for like a moment. And then I think he's gonna hand Loki off to a new actor.
Interesting.
Because the young Loki story starts with like where Loki dies, but because he's Asgardian and you have like the realm of death and there's all kinds of nonsense that's going on with him, with that, he is brought back to life, but as like a teenager. And I think that's what we're going to get here. Like a Loki on Earth with all kinds of like teenage hijinks and drama and who knows what else. Which, like, with a Rick and Morty, like, irreverent style tone to it, could be really fun.
Oh, yeah.
We don't know, just because, like, look, writers have all kinds of facets. Like, this guy could be like, no, I'm going to write a serious, like, Norse mythology drama about Loki. Like, I don't know why. I don't have to do comedy about drunks and interdimensional travel. But I think we got a good shot at it.
But and also I think that even if he does something serious, there could still be little subtle nuances of comedy that would work very well. You can have both. I think he could do both.
Yeah, I mean, somebody said, that's just weird. It's comic books, man.
They're all weird.
Yeah, they're all super weird. But I would love to see that. Like, again, I would love to see it honor. This is a series. Like, it's not just like, oh, it's a 4-part movie. It's an 8. Like, it's rumored to be 8 episodes series. That like I want to see them have to go through like trials and stuff across it, not just one big story.
Really excited for the budget they're gonna get for this, because we're gonna get to see some really cool stuff. Because the budget's gonna be a lot bigger than some TV shows' budget.
Yeah. Okay. Keep moving forward. Kevin Smith posted some updates on Instagram this week when he posted something about his upcoming Howard the Duck show.
Oh, yay.
He has apparently seen the test footage for Hitmonkey and M.O.D.O.K. The quote is, "I saw tests for Hitmonkey and M.O.D.O.K. already, and holy duck, they astounding. Like legit next level S." We're a clean show. I gotta clean up Kevin Smith's language. So I'm excited to like the fact that they've already done tests for M.O.D.O.K. and Hitmonkey mean that this wasn't just like, oh, and these two that will be fun. They've already they've been preparing for this.
Yes.
So I'm really excited. The other part of the news with Kevin Smith, and this, Z, I want to get your thoughts on this. And this is a weird way to say this. He has apparently offered Leah Thompson a voice role on Howard the Duck.
Yes, I did read that. Yes, of course. I feel like she's the best part of the 1986 movie.
Yeah. So he's not saying. I got real excited when I read it because I read it quickly.
Yeah.
And I was like, they got Leah Thompson to be in it, and then he's like, no, we offered her a part. Seems weird way to say that to the public.
I mean, a little bit, yeah. I feel like that's teasing at it. Maybe he's more teasing the fact that they might get Leah Thompson, but maybe they already have her.
Well, he's saying they don't. He's just being very open about the process, which is Kevin Smith's style.
That's true. I wonder if he's putting it out there also to be like, hey, she might get a part, so everybody's like, Leah Thompson, take the part.
And also, like, the internet, like, we're talking about it. And Leah Thompson's like, people are talking about that.
Yeah.
Like, you really want me to go back to 1980s?
Yes, Leah Thompson, we do.
And it's a voice role, so it could be anything.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we're going to get Howard the Duck from different dimensions. We're going to do a little Duck-verse. So she crosses over. The live action Leah Thompson walks in.
Just walks in. Oh, my God, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Leah Thompson's wonderful. If you're like, who's Leah Thompson? I don't know. Back to the Future.
Back to the Future
plays
Marty
McFly's mom, Lorraine. Okay. Last story, as we were expressing before, came out minutes after last week's show. Cloak and Dagger put out a new trailer. We're not going to watch it. We're only going to talk about it for a minute. If you want more in-depth coverage of the trailer, check into with Zia and Christian on our sister show, Marvel TV Weekly.
AfterBuzz TV at 9 p.m. on Sundays.
But real quick, Zia, did this trailer get you excited for season 2?
You know what? It made me have a little bit more hope for season 2. And I know it's not a big secret that I was not a huge fan of season 1. I think the characters are cool and there's really cool things they could do with it and cool things they could do with the stories. I just personally didn't like sort of the tone of the show and that they tried to make it really edgy, and for me, it just didn't land. That's sort of my personal gripe with the show, and also the music, but that's a whole other thing. But I kind of like what we're seeing with season 2. I hope we get, the first season was an origin story, and it was a lot of them like discovering their powers and not using their powers, so it wasn't exciting in that sense. In this, just in the trailer, we saw a lot of that, and if we can see that and a little bit more of Tandy and Tyrone working together and maybe just being a tiny bit less whiny, just for me, then I think it could be cool. I don't know if I'd say I'm excited, but I'm like, okay, maybe now I'll get to see the show I wanted to see.
Okay, yeah. I can see how the trailer makes it look more grounded.
Yes.
For season 2 versus like all the weird trippy episodes that season, like, cause that was only like I like where they're building in season 1, but like all the weird going into mind stuff that they did was it felt disconnected from what it felt like they were building something structured with like all the real life stuff that they're going in, and then all of a sudden they're in a guy's head for an episode.
It was like they were trying to be very, to me it felt like they were trying to be very artsy and like you said, kind of very weird and very cerebral, and also very
which to be clear, I like those swings.
I love when the way they did it with Legion. Absolutely love Legion. That's a fantastic show. I love the way they did it there. For me, I did not think it landed with Cloak and Dagger. That's my own personal opinion on that.
And like I hope that they don't like take too far a step back from that. Like see what worked, see what didn't work, and then build on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like take those weird twists and like it's comic books. Get weird with it.
Yeah.
It's just striking the right balance. All right. So that's the news for this week. Unless something else has broken while we've been...
It will be right after this. Don't worry.
You monsters. But let's take some questions from the audience and see what you guys want to know. So one of the questions that we got, and Zia, if you want to pull some stuff up, I know was earlier today, Billy Pruitt wanted to know. Where's the question? If Netflix shows get revived on Hulu, what do you think the odds of the actors returning to reprise their roles? I would say it partially depends on how fast it happens. They can't Hulu if Hulu's going to take the shows, they can't even start on it for another year and a half or so. The contract with Netflix goes through next year unless Disney buys them out of it. So I think it's going to come down to does Hulu, like, it hasn't been long enough, does Hulu think that the audience will carry over enough? And do they think they can start fresh? Because these runs, the original seasons that have already aired on Netflix will always be on Netflix. They won't carry over to Hulu unless there's a huge exchange of money somewhere.
That would be a lot.
So you will have to be able to pick up without context necessarily for what's already happened. So it might be a thing where we go 4 years and we don't see Daredevil, but they get someone new to play him, much the way that you get a new writer and a new artist to draw Matt Murdock. There's nothing that says that it's... The only thing I really hope that they do, I really would love for them to maintain the continuity. Even if you don't refer to it very often, but the Marvel Cinematic Universe, while not perfect, it's comics. Like, continuity breaks sometimes, and you have to get your no prize for explaining how it works. But I would love for them to at least try to maintain it so that it all stays together.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I would like to see the same actors come back just because I'm such a big fan, especially of Charlie Cox. I mean, he's so great as Daredevil. It's kind of a similar thing to seeing or having to think about seeing someone else play Wolverine other than Hugh Jackman. I don't really want to. Not saying that somebody else couldn't come and fill the role and do a fantastic job. It's just hard for me to picture. So I would like to see that, but I think it could be done without them. Eon001 has a question. He said, GSP retired from MMA. Does this mean he'll be back as Batroc in the MCU?
Okay, I know who Batroc is. The rest of I was like, who?
GSP.
What? I know
George
what
St. Pierre.
I know what MMA is.
He used to hold a belt in the 170-pound division.
I would love to see. I think we talked about Batroc a week ago.
Really?
Because like he's a character that's been fun. Like, it's just like super weird.
Yeah.
And like I liked that adaptation that they used. But to be honest, I kind of want them to bring him like into like one of the animated shows. That's where we talked about it, as because like he's a ridiculous character that you could like they made serious, but
he's supposed to kind of by nature.
He always
just
was
be
sort
really
of
silly.
silly.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he sort of became. But He would be a cool character to have like a callback with, because that's something I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been lacking a little bit, is there isn't a ton of those like weird, those like little connections where a villain will appear in one movie and then also just like be the random gangster that shows up in a different movie. The way that Turk shows up all the time on the Netflix shows, but like that kind of connective tissue can be really fun, and you don't even have to acknowledge that they were already there. It's just that character is doing another thing. They're being a bad guy to a different set of people.
Yeah.
And so that could be fun. Sky Patterson wants to know, what do you think of the Russo brothers returning to executive produce or co-direct a live-action adaptation of Secret Wars? Oh, boy.
I read that comic semi-recently. I want to say about 6 months ago or so.
I
Amazing.
think they said that they would be interested, like Secret Wars is one that they would want to do. Don't hold me to that, but I believe they've said that they would be interested in that. A Secret War, like, that's such a crazy storyline. Like,
it'd be such a cool series. I mean, not series. I'm sorry, movie. I would like to see a movie.
I think that Secret Wars is what you're gonna get when people start being like, man, we gotta like reset some stuff. Like, we've been doing the Marvel Cinematic Universe for 30 years. Continuity is all kinds of out of whack. We gotta just like come in, like reframe some actors. Like, it's going to be that Secret Wars is probably going to happen when they need to do a universe reset.
Yeah, when they're done with I absolutely 100% agree. That's going to be a fun one when they're all said and done with everything and they start new.
I guess it depends which one. In my so like the original Secret Wars is fun. I love the more recent Secret Wars where all the different universes get combined.
Oh, okay.
But if it's all of them having to fight each other, like that one could still work, but I think they're gonna hold out to do like Secret Wars, like the one where Doom is, like has the patchwork world, and that'd be so much fun.
I don't think I read that one. I think I read the original one.
Okay.
You
got to read the recent one, which is a great. We'll talk about that.
There are a couple other questions in here. Gamer Girl says, I have a question. Why is Thunderbird called Thunderbird if his powers aren't thunder or lightning related? Is this supposed to be a mystery? Do you know?
Wait, who is this?
Thunderbird?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so we don't know that one. Patrick Ollinger. I'm gonna look this up though for next time.
Yeah, we'll check on that one.
Patrick Ollinger says, Zia, would you like to see a Deadpool animated series? Yes, absolutely. Great question. I mean, that would be awesome.
At this point, only if Donald Glover is back. Like, if he gets to do his show. I think it would feel cheap if they did one without him.
Okay, that's fair.
After all of that fallout.
Yeah.
Thunderbird. I just Googled it. I don't know this character well enough. I remember this character now that I see a picture. I don't know enough to really answer many questions.
Yeah.
Toro at Senior Nerd, do you want or like the Fantastic Four reboot as a period movie set in the 60s or in the modern MCU setting? Both. All right, so real quick, I'll recap my idea for this that I've said on this podcast at least twice. But I want to see, I want to start out in the 60s with the Fantastic Four as these scientists, this like little family, and they're very much like the classic heroes. And they take that mentality of like, we can save the day by fighting crime, like that mentality that you only had like in like the golden age of comics, where you really could save the world just by defeating a bank robber kind of thing. And they get launched into space, like they go off on their mission. Maybe Doom is with them. Doom gets involved in this, so they're all lost in another like. Maybe they're in the negative zone. Maybe they're you could do the quantum realm since we're talking MCU. Like, who knows? But then in modern day 2020 MCU, they wind up back here and are confronted with a world that does not make sense to them. As somebody from the 60s, the world would not make sense to them.
Absolutely.
Like, the lines are so much grayer. Heroes are all kinds of like
anti-heroes.
Yeah, heroes, anti-heroes, Inhumans, maybe like who knows how long it's going to take. Mutants, spider people,
spider hams.
And I want Doom's story to be Doom comes back and discovers, because he's been away from his country for so many years, that it has fallen. It is from Doom's. When Doom is in control of his kingdom, Latveria is prosperous and his people love him. But when Doom disappears, it falls into ruin. It becomes a military state. Everything's torn apart, and suddenly he has to go on what from the outside looks like a villainous rampage, tearing apart this country in order to regain his foothold on Latveria. So the Fantastic Four have to go in, like, do we have to contain Doom? And he's like, no, Doom's trying to save his people, but it looks like he's a villain. I'm pro Doom. Shock.
A big surprise. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my concept for an MCU Fantastic Four movie, partially built on like what I've talked with, like, because I know I've talked to like Matt Key about it and Coy Jandra about it and Hector Navarro a bunch of times. Like, we bounce ideas and it's just like, this is the one I have in my head. I don't know that it'll ever happen.
Basically, we need the MCU to hire you to write this movie, Zach.
Please. This or She-Hulk.
Yes, I remember you saying that before. Let's start a petition.
And then Calvin, this we'll just mention real quick as we sign out, but it is worth looking up. Have we heard about the Mexico Spider-Man where Gwen doesn't die? So there's, I can't even confirm if it's real or not, because like the internet's full of rumors, but I think it appears that it's real, that like because of like how things in Mexico were different and like republishing and like different publishers and international, that there were different writers writing like their own version of Spider-Man for a few years, where they didn't think people would like that Gwen died. So like there was a whole other arc where like they got married and this whole thing. And it just resurfaced or something.
What?
I don't know if it's a hoax or not, but look it up because it's a really interesting story. And the cover art, if nothing else, looks really cool.
Gotta find this book.
Zia, is there anything else you want to talk about as we wrap out?
Oh, goodness.
So I think
I don't want to get started because there's too much. There's a lot of things.
2 minutes to go.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us this week on Marvel Movie News. Zia, thank you for being here.
Always. This is so much fun.
I love talking about this stuff. Oh, people are talking about Doom in the chat, and
There's so much in the chat. I want to talk about all the stuff in the chat.
Charles Lee says, do not add Doom into that group. It's the Fantastic Four, not the Fantastic Five. No, but it's the Fantastic Four versus Dr. Doom. I'm just like, their battle winds up in another dimension, like while they're fighting.
I would watch that.
I would
100% watch that.
To me, like Doom and the Fantastic Four are this perfect like balance of like of good and like of good who thinks they're just fighting for good, and evil who is somebody who believes in good but like is willing to take evil methods and like what looks evil to protect their people. That's what I love about Doom and why I'm fascinated by his character.
No, I always think that those characters are a lot more fascinating than just people who are, on their high horse. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I like to see those different dimensions. Super quickly, Zeiss Bilou says, have you both heard Eternals will start filming this summer?
Yeah, we talked about
that last week. So if you go back to last week's archive, we did. So I'm excited.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Zia, if people want to find you, where can they keep up with you until next Thursday?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zia_Land. It's XIA_Land. And on Facebook at Zia Landerson.
And I'm Zach Wilson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @ZachWilson. Also, be sure to check out my podcast, Ships in the Night, where me and my partner, Greg Goodness, talk with a guest about different ships that
it's so fun.
Like who's gonna hook up with who. This week we talked about what happened if Smog and the Monopoly guy started dating. It's a capitalist nightmare. Ships in the Night. Guys, this has been Marvel Movie News. Thanks for geeking out with us.
Bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.